Welcome back to the show, everybody. Look at that right there. XRP out for a run this morning. 66 cents, ladies and gentlemen. Up over 23% on the 7-day. We got that, and guess what else we got? We got Singapore Monetary Authority, the same one that gave a license to Ripple, going live wholesale this year. Oh, somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, it is $2.59 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 5.4% in the last 24. 66,400 plus for Bitcoin. It's up 28.7 on the 7-day and 6.9 on the 24. 3,500 plus for Ethereum, up 14.9 on the 7-day and 4.1 in the 24. 99.8 billion plus for Tether, but it did cross 100 billion earlier this morning overnight. We know that XRP is at 66 cents. It's up 6.4 on the 24 and up 23.4% on the 7-day. Oh, yeah. It's out for a run, ladies and gentlemen. We're keeping a very, very close eye on it. And I want to remind you, as we make this change in the monetary system, because that's exactly what this is. This is the greatest financial paradigm shift in the history of mankind, and it cannot be overstated. And that's why I am also accumulating precious metals. Gold, silver is the big two that I'm focused on, but you can get platinum and palladium, and more importantly, you can get the best prices and discounts if you just email them info@milesfranklin.com and put dig gold in the subject box. That's all you got to do. And the rest takes care of itself. You're going to get the best deals on precious metal. Just do those two things. Then we look at this right here. Secure borders, safe cities, sensible spending. The U.S. national debt is rising by $1 trillion about every 100 days. I'm sure it's nothing. 100 days and $1 trillion is added to the debt every 100 days. Are you kidding me right now? We're absolutely at the 80-year mark for the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. And out of the last 5, the Netherlands and Portugal had an 80-year lifespan. And I would dare to say, knowing I'm not an economist, I would dare to say that that is enough of a signal right there that you're adding $1 trillion every 100 days to your debt, that something has to be done. We're running out of runway. And guess what? There's more people that think so. And the economist warns here that the real threat to the U.S. dollar dominance is not Bitcoin, but unsustainable fiscal policies. I would agree with that. And then I see this here on the eve of America is on the eve of a banking crisis, warns an ex-IMF official with hundreds of lenders at risk of failure. And I say, oh, it's a banking crisis, all right. But if we want to be a little more specific, it's a money printing crisis, isn't it? Well, BRICS coalition, we reported yesterday, Mexico wants to join BRICS now, and now Pakistan does. It just keeps getting bigger. It will rival the G7 by 2030, according to BRICS coalition, maybe sooner if they keep having countries join. So now we're looking at this. This is called the Great Reset Watch. EU Parliament approves digital identity wallet. Brussels is also looking to implement a central bank digital currency. Now, this is interesting because Brussels is where SWIFT is located. And SWIFT is privately owned by all the banks, right? Just a little fun fact. And if I were to put Great Reset on my thumbnail, they would take the thumbnail down on YouTube because there is no free speech on social media platforms. Don't believe that. It's true. And you're going to want to be in the freedom zone today for the conversation we're about to have that I wouldn't dare have on this channel because my channel's monetized. But here we have the U.S. debt clock. And shout out to EchoX. If you're not following this guy, I mean, who doesn't love this guy's energy? He's amazing. And I'm following him. I am following. I've been following this guy. Yeah. Make sure you're following him too. He does such great work out here. I've had a chance to be in a I think it was a TikTok space about a year or so ago. Super nice guy, super smart. But I want to pick this video up just for the sake of time here and play this video that really breaks down what a great reset, or more appropriately termed, a debt jubilee. A debt jubilee is something that was done over and over in every 70 to 80 years, or 70 to 80, maybe 100 years or so, if my memory serves me right. I did a lot of research on this a few years ago. But the debt jubilee is something that was done in biblical times every so many years, like 70 to 100 years, right? And this would relieve people. And if there was anyone who was enslaved because of their debt, they were released at that time so they could start over. Kings would do this, right? So this is an important thing to understand, because I know we have not seen it in our lifetime, but it has happened. So we're not talking about something that doesn't have precedent, right? Now, I want to play for you here what the Great Jubilee could look like, and let's understand where it came from. And you're going to hear a girl talk in a second. Remember the debt that we just went over, and EchoX is going to highlight that very quickly. But I want you to pay very close attention, because there's going to be a girl that speaks here, and she's going to talk about stuff that we've covered in the Freedom Zone quite heavily, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has talked about, which is serfdom, right? And feudalism. This is a very big deal, because it is the moment that this world is in right now, where the largest players, back in the day it used to be kings, right? And today it's corporations and banks, right? BlackRocks, right? The Vanguards, all of those, right? And all of those entities are buying up everything and making you work for them. And that's exactly what Robert F. Kennedy explained when we covered it in the Freedom Zone, is how Monsanto have bought up all of the pork companies and independent pork farmers, and large part, and still are, and they're doing that, and then buying their land, then turning around and saying, okay, now that we've bought your business, your family business, you can work for us and we'll pay you this much. That's serfdom. Right? It's one tick above a slave, but it really isn't impressive at all, because you're really still enslaved to a degree, right? So let me play this video, and I've got some stuff after this you just got to see, because I tell you, the next year or two it's our year for this space, and you're going to find out why.
But the U.S. national debt is unsustainable. I know that. You know that. Sleepy Joe knows that. Everybody in the bomb knows that.
The history of debt began in Sumer in 3500 BCE, over 5,000 years ago. Feudalism led to debts so extreme among small farmers that they would often sell their children into debt peonage to pay them off. This is when the emergence of slavery first appeared. 25% of all people enslaved at this time did so in order to pay off their debts. In order to prevent revolt, kings would periodically forgive all debts. This is called debt jubilee. Credit systems emerged as a means of account long before the invention of coinage in 600 BCE. David refers to these non-market community interactions as everyday communism. This way of life was maintained by mutual expectations and responsibilities. The early signs of the military coinage slave complex emerged during the Axial Age from 800 BCE to 600 BCE. Coins were used to quantify human economies and led to a radically different conception of debt and social relations. This was maintained by the creation and recreation of social bonds through gifts, marriages, and general sociability. This was enforced by mercenary armies who looted cities and enslaved community members, severing them from their social markets. This violent exploitation led to the rise of empires, enabled by the use of coinage to pay off soldiers. Tax obligations forced everyday citizens to accept this new monetary system, which, unsurprisingly, increased debt and slavery across the world. In response to this, religion and philosophy began to emerge, often including discussions of debt and ethics. The fall of the Roman and Indian empires led to the abandonment of hard currencies and the fracturing of power into many small kingdoms, with the exception of medieval Europe. This is when modern economists will tell you that we reverted to barter, but this is not the case. In the single surviving empire, China, things like promissory notes and paper money began to emerge. The same was occurring in the form of letters of credit and checks in the Islamic world. The discovery of the Americas led to the mass extraction of gold and silver through colonial exploitation. The bullion economy reemerges, as do large-scale armies. Importantly, The Italian mercantile city-states, who defied the Catholic ban on usury, had opened the floodgates to the current age of capitalist empires we know today. This adventurous militarism, or colonization, was backed by debt and exploitation of first the Americas and later West Africans. Capitalist monopolies were established through the disenfranchisement and destruction of local markets. After the gold standard ended in 1971, the U.S. dollar became the world currency. The authority of the U.S. dollar and the Federal Reserve can only be continued through the maintenance of military superpower. As long as client states are still willing to buy government bonds, the system continues.
Nothing can stop what is coming, and they will continue to do it until it implodes. The U.S. national debt is rising by a staggering $1 trillion about every 100 days.
Jubilees was a conventional part of human societies right up to the Roman period. Now, I've said we need a modern debt jubilee because when you look at debt and you see that debt is actually created by banks, debt is not me lending to you and therefore you don't repay me, I get ripped off. It's debt banks saying, that's a great idea, Martin. Here's $1 million for the house you want to buy in Thirroul, and by the way, you owe us $1 million, creating it out of nothing, but doing it because they expect house prices in Thirroul to rise indefinitely, which is them living a mythical world, lending for the wrong purposes, inflating bubbles. You can reset that.
This was always part of the plan, and this is...
Well, if it was always part of the plan, we may be closer to it than ever. And I want to take and bring us to this. This is a clip right here, and I'm not going to play the whole thing because I don't need to. I want to start it at 1 minute here, and I want you to hear what this gentleman says. And remember, this is from Singapore FinTech Festival 2023. Now, that's important because he says they're going to go live next year, which is this year. And the Singapore FinTech Festival for this year is in November. So we know he's speaking from 23. So this is interesting here because you're going to hear him talk about not only them going live with CBDCs and live issuance, but they're going to be doing it on the wholesale side. Now, this is something I have talked about a lot on this channel, that it will be much easier for them to launch on the wholesale side because you don't have the consumer, you're not touching the consumer side or all the citizens. It's much easier to upgrade and do things on the wholesale back end because you're dealing with the banks themselves. And believe me, that's enough of a climb right there. But it's much easier to do that than it is to go consumer facing. And that's why Ripple's not consumer facing, right? So this is a very interesting clip here. I want you to hear exactly what he says when it comes to prioritizing and regulating stablecoins and CBDCs.
Monetary system, which comprises central bank notes and coins and bank deposits. So you have CBDCs and tokenized bank liabilities. Since 2016, MAS has conducted many experiments with other central banks and the financial industry to explore the use of wholesale CBDCs on distributed ledgers to facilitate real-time cross-border payments and settlements.
Listen.
We will take our experiments a step further next year.
That's 2024.
I'm pleased to announce that MAS will pilot the live issuance of wholesale CBDCs to instantaneously settle payments across commercial banks here.
That's this year. He's saying that in 2023. That's this year. Because the 2024 Singapore FinTech Festival has not happened yet. Keep listening.
Now, previously, MAS had only simulated the issuance of wholesale CBDCs within test environments. We will now go further into live.
Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because Monetary Authority of Singapore is the one that issued a license to Ripple. And what have I been saying here with all the people out here being polite who have tried to create a false narrative that Ripple's failed? Right? But they're the ones, the MAS, have given Ripple the license. And what have we said here over and over and over? You're not going to see things move until you see the use and movement and settlement of value with CBDCs and stablecoins. And the Monetary Authority of Singapore that gave Ripple a license said they're going to start doing that this year. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. And then where there's smoke, there's fire. Old smoke dogs out here getting it. This guy needs a t-shirt in the merch store because I'm buying the first one. So has Stellar been working on tokenization as well with U.S. Federal Reserve and Treasuries, baby. The largest issuance was carried out by Franklin Templeton, Moody's reported, referring to the U.S. government money fund registered on the Stellar and Polygon Matic blockchains. Come on in. I love seeing this for us all the way around. You guys know I love Stellar. I love XRP, XLM, HBAR, Quant, and XDC. I love all of those. Those are coins that I love, and that's not financial advice from me or anyone else. I couldn't be more excited. Now, we're going to head into the Freedom Zone, and as I told you, there is no free speech out here. My man Zach Rector received a strike on YouTube and can't post there for a week. I know all too well what this is like, and I hope that week goes by very quick for you, Zach, and I'm sorry to hear that it happened. He said, I will be uploading updates to Patreon directly in the meantime. Thank you all for your support, and this is exactly why I have the Freedom Zone. I've been victim to it. Zach's been a victim to it. DAI's been a victim to it, and nothing we have said warranted anything. And I haven't seen what happened to Zach, but I guarantee you he hasn't done a damn thing wrong. They've just chosen to take something and target him. That's exactly what's happened there. I'm certain of it. And I hope that it goes by very quickly and he can get that strike removed. We're going into the Freedom Zone now. Oh, and if you think talking about debt Jubilee is going to be something, wait till you hear where we go today. We're going to bring the bankruptcy king in on this and how he just got a huge decision today. Yeah. Debt Jubilee. Trump's allowed to be on every ticket in the ballot of the United States of America for the national presidential election. We got that and so much more in the Freedom Zone. It's not financial advice from me or anyone else. Click digitalperspectives.com in the Freedom Zone and come on in. Welcome.